Very much. Really?
Yeah.
That's exciting. Do you want to let people into this year know?
A.B. Rottenberg is going to be playing tonight. When he comes, it's
Wow.
the Herzog's house tonight. Yeah, around 10:50, 10:30.
Whoa.
10:15, 10:30?
Yeah,
I was coming late,
well, it starts at 9,
right?
so until. But we have another thing we're doing at Flamingo somewhere before we come over. That's why. Also,
He's
if you
going,
have other entertainment that's going to be there. These facility guys are singing.
but they're also not coming till 10. So we
No,
better
it's later.
Is the house
It's earlier.
we better
I spoke to
coordinate.
Shirley Weiss. He's the one that, cousin of mine who's arranging that.
Oh, okay.
Is the house gonna get overwhelmed?
Well. It's an overwhelming house, what can I tell you?
Okay, I have no idea.
You have to register.
I
to
did
let people
register.
know. You registered, okay.
Without this knowledge.
Okay.
Okay, let's look at it. We'll have to figure that out today.
We listen to music before, like after plug or when? It's,
After Shkia,
yeah,
after Shkia, yeah.
Unless you're in the choir and you're rehearsing, then you can use the piano and you listen with one ear, not with the other, ear, with the shinoi.
with my voice.
On your head.
That's not singing.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a late night tonight, that's for sure.
When can I show you?
Tomorrow morning. Yeah. Yeah.
Chainsaw.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
That just doesn't bother me. I'm lazy when it comes to that, so.
Okay, all right, and let me just make sure we did the tshuva from before. So what we were talking about is we talked about the difference once again between a ganef and a gazlan. A ganef is a pickpocket, a gazlan is a mugger. Okay. Okay, so that seems to be pretty obvious. Kesef shenitan lo lenisios velo hizdakek lo. Money that was given to a person for travel expenses, but he ended up not needing it. Okay, so Misha Nosea the shaila is like this. Misha Nosea b'shlichus tziboris, ola mekomos shetzarech lahartzaot oli drosham. So a person is going on some kind of public mission. Let's say he works for the government, and he's given money for travel expenses, or he needs to go to places for presentations, or to give a drasha, or to whatever it is. Umishalmin lo benosaf al schar or hartzaa gam schar nesia, and the people who are bringing him out. So let's say this is a traveling rabbi, or he's a traveling motivational speaker, right? And he's getting compensated for coming out to this place where they're going to have him speak, and they give him travel expenses in addition to his honorarium. And sometimes he's able to get transportation without having to pay for it. Let's say, it's from Yerushalayim all the way up to Haifa. And normally, so that the people that are bringing you out to Haifa, they're going to be paying you an extra couple hundred shekels in order to be able to get transportation up to Haifa. But it turns out that your brother-in-law has business in Haifa. He's driving up for the day. So kagon shenasa betram osha adam sheyesh lo rechev muchan lahasio kedei lishmoa sadrasha. So let's say you can hitchhike, or there's someone from Yerushalayim who wants to come and hear you speak in Haifa. So he's willing to drive you up. So yesh ladun hayim oto ravo miratzeh srichim liftor atzmam mischar nesia meota mampeamim uledaveach al zeh laotam hamemunim al tashlum hanesia. So is it the obligation of the person who is being hired to forego the transportation expenses, uledaveach al zeh, Does that mean ledavech? I'm not sure what that verb means. See still a lot of modern Hebrew that I still don't know. Ledavech. To report. I'm not sure what. Does he have to report this to the people who are taking care of his honorarium? כדי להפחית את תשלום הנסיעה שמקבל על כל נסיעה ונסיעה מאותם פעמים, so that they will reduce his whatever he's getting for each time he's able to save money on the travel. ולקבל פחות ממה שהגיע להם על אותם פעמים שלא היו צריכים לשלם על זה, and therefore they'll end up paying less because he didn't need the transportation expense. So what do you say?
Seems like a fair thing to do.
Isn't it very
I
common?
don't think you can use it.
He can't use it.
It happens a lot in the world too with employees. They're given expense accounts for meals or entertainment.
Or a car allowance.
Car allowance or something like that. They expect to take someone to a hockey game or take them out for meals and stuff, and then they don't. So the question is can you use that? So sometimes the corporate policy is that you use it or lose it. That's the policy. Or sometimes they say it's yours. You do it with what you want.
Right. So a lot of it will depend. Do they require you to submit receipts for the meals and for the transportation?
Right.
Or do they just say we're tacking on a bonus and whether you use it or not? I think it would all depend on the way it's contracted.
Exactly. Or you can take your kids to the hockey game instead of taking a corporate client. You can do that too,
Right.
right? Some don't care. Some do, and some do. Yeah, some do care.
You also have other scenarios where a company is paying for your flight to go out to see these customers out in Western Canada. And you happen to be an agent and you carry other non-competing lines. And then while you're there, you have 2 hours free to go see a customer for the other company, and you're selling on their dime. You're out there on their dime. And you go sell the others spiral to the other company. Now, they're not losing anything, but you're benefiting.
Yeah. So if it's a zen nehenev v'zelo chaser kind of situation,
Right.
since they already had to get you out there anyway, so I don't see anything really unethical about that. Unless you could argue that there would be an ethical requirement to let them know that you need to do business there anyway, and that you'd like to get the other company to pay for half of the.
So the point is that they don't. Right? They just go on that company's dime. That's the question. Is that? I mean, he has to go anyways. It doesn't matter. The company's paying to go see those 3 clients, and you finish early. They're not losing anything, but is that?
Yeah, so it is a case of zenen of zelo chaser, but it's a question of whether there would be an ethical obligation to try and get the other company to pay.
Chip in. Or to be part of your personal expenses.
Right, so that's a little bit different from what we're saying over here. So the tshuva is yesh misha omer sha'otam hamim, but so again, it's not really that practical for a lot of situations where they require you to submit receipts, where they'll only pay you for the transportation or the meals that you actually purchased, and they're not going to pay you for when, just give you a blank check and just say, here, we assume you need to travel, so you can just take this without submitting receipts. Yesh misha omer sha'otam hamamunim al tashlum hanesiya tzrichim l'shalem lahem kiragil et schar hanesiya hagam shekama pa'amim oto rav omer ratzeh lo shilem al ota nesiya. So there is one opinion that states that the people who are hiring this fellow, this speaker who is going to be traveling from one city to the other, so if they bring him out regularly and it's part of the contract that they give him an additional 200, 300 shekels a week for transportation, so then they would have to continue that regardless of whether he ends up needing that money for transportation. Zochim b'schar nesiya la'atzmam gam alotam hayamim shelo shilmu al nesiya. The speaker, the public speaker, would be able to keep the transportation money because that's part of his contract with them. V'nira she'im hamamuna al hatashlum shemishalim avor nesiyot shalem b'sof hakodesh. He says, but it would seem that if the person who's in charge of the expenses, who's going to be paying for the transportation at the end of the month, and he ends up paying a flat amount without verifying how many trips he needed to take, so then, like, you're paying a monthly flat fee, so you pay the monthly flat fee. But if you need to bring receipts for every time you take a trip, then you wouldn't be able to, well, that was, I guess, what we surmised. Again, nothing too earth-shattering here.
No, but if you take your family out for dinner or to a game with seats and not your client, that's against.
Well, that's lying. That's just lying. So he brings from a number of svarim in Ayin Vav, Shenishal Shelazu Bepoel She'oved Eitzel HaBalabayas U'Mishalim Hotzas HaNesiya B'Sof HaChodesh V'Yatza Lo Linsoa B'Tram B'Kasav Shem B'Shem Gedoli Hora She'im Balabayas Mishalim B'Chlalot Al Demei Nesiyot Yachol L'Kabel Om Tzarech Hapola Havi Kabolos Akol Nesiyan Yachol L'Kabelos. Okay, all right. So it's the same thing, yeah. Okay, so there's nothing earth-shattering here. Next.
I mean, is it more concern of lying to the company or to the government? For example, many people have, let's say, seasons tickets for trying to make leaves or whatever, and so sometimes they use it for clients, but sometimes like there's no clients, so they're going to take their kid or whatever.
So you're saying you use these season tickets and use it as a business write-off?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's stealing from CRA.
Well, I'm not
Because you're
sure.
putting it through as an expense, as a deduction, and you're using it personally. You should be taxed
Well,
on
you're
it.
using it both for personal use and you're using it for business.
But that game, especially a leaf game, it's $1,000 for 2 tickets.
Well, hold on. When you buy season tickets, does it break down per game?
Yes,
Explain it to me, because
I have for Blue Jays, I have seats I share with a bunch of people. And every ticket tells you exactly how much each game is on the ticket.
You can buy individual games or you buy a season package.
You can buy, even on a season package, it tells you how much the games are per game, and certain games are more money than other games.
But when you buy a season package, it's got to be less than each
It is.
individual
No, it's
game.
not.
Sure, it is.
They rip you off completely.
You have
They
access to
charge
those
you a
seats,
fortune.
but no, it's.
No, it's cheaper than buying individual
They
games.
don't give us a deal. There's no deal.
Because they do price things like if Montreal Canadiens come into Toronto, you're gonna pay a lot more money than
You'll pay the
if,
face value of the ticket, what's on the face value
Market
of the
value is
ticket.
different. No, you do.
It's all
You
face
can't-
value on each game. It's all
It's so
in
discounted.
advance. It's set up, and it is a fortune. It's a fortune. It tells you on the back how much taxes, how much everything is on the back of the ticket.
So the question Ron's asking, can you cheat CRA?
That's the whole thing. Because if CRA would do an audit and they would say, okay, you spent $6,000 on these tickets, show me who you took.
CRA in the audit
Yes.
will do that.
Yes.
Yeah, so then that
Yeah.
shows that it bothers them
Yeah.
if you take your kids instead of taking your clients.
Halacha is that acceptable, I guess, right?
Yeah, so you can't cheat on your taxes. That's the halacha.
That's TV,
Yeah.
right? So
Right.
that's not,
the issue. A lot of people
you
do
use
that.
gas on your car, you drive to downtown to go somewhere, and you put your gas through your business. It's the same thing. It's sort of like an acceptable
Sure, it's acceptable, yeah.
cheat, and if you get caught, they'll knas you.
But in my case, I put my wife in my payroll. And
Right.
is that allowed?
Yeah.
I asked a Shile on that and the answer is yes.
Yeah, the answer is yes, because the government allows it.
Right.
Oh, no, but
but
as a
if-
child of a rabbi, the government allows it within reason, but does my wife actually help me with business? You know,
Yeah, but she.
But she does by automatically. She makes you coffee or she brings you
Well,
dinner,
she does make me coffee, but. that's-
okay, whatever. But it's just, I'm saying, okay, but I'm saying if she provides you with the peace of mind that you need in order to be able to function
But
in your
you know,
business.
except for a lot of people put their wives on their payroll, they put, let's say, on for $100,000 a year, and really, they're only doing $25,000 worth of work.
Well, that's very
That's
hard,
the cup.
but that's hard to evaluate.
But that's how they do it, and that's how they justify getting away.
No,
That's
but
how
it's,
I do it.
it's hard to evaluate how much a person's work is worth. You know, I do, the shul does income splitting for myself and my wife.
Income
Yeah.
splitting is an accepted CRA. You know, if you're making $100,000 a year, you can give $20,000 or $25,000, so you can safely be down a tax bracket.
Yeah,
That's an acceptable thing by CRA, so.
I know, I understand. So if
Paying
this,
someone $100,000 when they're, you know, they're going to Costco to buy coffee for the office is not an acceptable thing, and you're paying them.
so if it's not
$100,000.
acceptable, so
So
then you
that's the
shouldn't do it.
question.
Yeah, you shouldn't
That's the
do it.
question.
You know, you have to abide by the Dina de Malchus. There's not gonna, you're not gonna be able to, anything that if you were audited, they would call you out on, you're not allowed to do lechatchila.
You get a parking ticket personally, put it through the business. Put it through the business.
Well,
You're
if,
working Saturday night.
if
and
you
you're
put
on
it through the
Don Valley
business
going downtown,
because you were driving your car,
that's double. So you're speeding and you put it through the business.
you could justify that to put it through the business because this was a business expense. You were in the process of doing business when you were driving, but if it would happened on a Sunday and you were on your way to the
Or a Luigi
to
game
the
or to a
cottage,
concert,
yeah,
you
right.
know,
Okay,
I'm a pro of these things. Ask me.
Okay, I don't want to know anymore.
so I guess the answer to your question is you have to itemize it. You have to go through. You can't just say, well, I paid $6,000 for the season. If indeed half of the time you're taking family and half the time you're taking business associates, so then you can only deduct the amount that you took as for business associates.
Here's another example for car expenses in all businesses. We keep a log of everything because you can say, right, your car, you're spending $6,000 on your car lease and you're spending $5,000 on gas and all this. You have to show on to Revenue Canada, okay, where did you go each day and how far did you drive? So that you can't claim 100% of your car as an expense because you are going to Sobeys, you are going to a party at night, you are doing on things you have to show. We keep logs, everybody
Yeah.
keeps logs.
Yeah.
We make them up, but you know, you have to keep logs.
Some law firms that they give you these expense accounts and stuff, you have to keep the receipt, and on the back of the receipt,
Right.
write down who you took out for the meal, or who you went to the game with, or the, you know, the show, or whatever it is, and then you have, submit them all every month with the names on them.
Mhm.
95% of the tickets that we have, like we give away to buyers, and we keep track who got it, which, you know, on which game and who it was. Truth is, most buyers won't take it today because they're not allowed to,
Yeah, no, no.
Why are they not allowed to take?
because it's a bribe.
Oh, you mean even if they're working for a private company?
Yes.
And
So
our
versus
business is very
Walmart,
strict,
won't even take a bottle of water when you come to my house.
Very strict. on that.
Won't even take a bottle of water.
We actually get email from the bigger stores, you know, about that,
Not allowed.
not to give gifts. They, during the holiday season.
Right.
They
You send it to the
out
office for everyone to share
Just
it,
let everyone know.
and if you do and you get caught, you'll be banned as being a vendor.
Trouble.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Very strong.
Oh,
So
yeah.
these gift basket companies must be suffering.
Well, you give it to, like, if you're sending it to, you deal with 4 buyers and say at Winners, for example, right, or 6, whoever you're dealing with. You send it to their general gifts, and then everybody from the office people who have nothing to do with buying, everyone participates, and it's not for anyone specific, it's for the company. You can do that.
It's, we have a limit, now, it's under $100, you don't disclose. Nobody have to disclose it. Fidelity, you know, many years ago, they used to take us on trips, not only the bigger producers to Boston or California, all expenses paid. Now,
Just think about it, you take 10 guys from a company, you take them all to Vegas for a weekend, and woohoo! All of a sudden, the orders are rolling in next week. Just gonna miss you know?
Yeah. Yeah,
That's how they banned all this.
a young man I bar mitzvahed who's been in trouble with the law for quite some time because he did that with a bunch of police officers. Took them to Vegas on a private jet.
Right, same thing.
Yeah. All right, anyway, let us go on. Hishtamshus b'chli she'eshiv lo ha'umen b'tos. Using an appliance or a utensil that a worker gives you erroneously. She'ela, misha masar ezekli la'umen kedei l'takta. So a person gives over an appliance to an artisan to fix. Okay, when he gets it back, he realizes I got the wrong item. He gave me somebody else's appliance. Am I allowed to use the utensil or the appliance while I'm waiting to get it to exchange it for mine? Or am I not allowed to use it because it's not my utensil? I guess what would it depend on? Probably, first of all, you got to find out what kind of utensil is it. But it would seem that if something was given to a person erroneously, this could be potentially what Geneva, right? I'm using something without the permission of the owner. So that's why, it would seem problematic to use it. Okay, what kind of kli could we imagine?
Any appliance, you give a kettle in to be fixed. And the guy fixes it, then you have an issue of kashrus too, comes back, right? Or whatever.
Right, well, if it's a cooking utensil, then it's certainly going to be a problem. But let's say I give in my lawnmower to get fixed to the lawnmower repairman. And
That's all by
Is there
accident.
such a thing?
I have no idea. I have no idea. Like what kind of situations do we give in our things for repair? It could be an article of clothing. It could be it could be at the cleaners, yeah.
Or a computer.
It could be a computer, right? And then you discover he gave me the wrong one. It looks like mine, but it's
You're gonna
not.
be able to use it because it's password.
It's password protected, and there's probably private data on that.
Yeah,
So
TV, even a TV will be fixed.
yeah, people don't fix TVs anymore today, do they?
I don't have a TV, I don't know. I have an air conditioner. But there's bring in TVs in Lakewood with air conditioner boxes. So people go.
Moish, you're a fountain of information. Okay. All right. Misha nasan ezekli uman. So a guy gives a certain utensil to be fixed to a repairman. And then you get it back and you realize I guess you open it up and take off the wrapper, that the worker gave you the wrong appliance. Or let's say the guy behind the counter said, look, I'm busy, just take your item and go. And you accidentally took the wrong item. This could also be, let's say, luggage. Let's say I'm going on a trip and I need the wheel fixed on my luggage. And I just bought a new piece of luggage yesterday because a wheel fell off of my son's luggage and someone tried to help him get it fixed. But the guy said, can't get the part, whatever. Fine. So, you spend $100. It's usually not even worth it to get the luggage fixed anyway. You buy a new piece of luggage for $100. So, where can you buy
a nice piece of luggage for $100?
It was at Marshall's yesterday. I was in,
a full size suit, it's not always for $100.
Yeah.
That's cheap.
Yeah. Anyway, Marshall's winners, they usually have them. Yeah. So anyway, and then you discover so you have the wrong one. So asaloli ishtamish, but you're not allowed to use it. You have to go back to the store and take yours. This, of course, could be really annoying. Let's say I pick it up the night before I'm going on a long trip. I pick up the fixed luggage and then I open it up the morning when I'm ready to pack And it's not my luggage. How can I use this? I want to now. I don't have the luggage that I need. Sorry, you're out of luck. Aval ima umen ba'atzmo amar lo tul kli zeh o shenasan lo bistam. But let's say the worker gives it to you, or he says, take this. He points to the one that's yours. And then when you get home, you discover that it's not yours. So then, mutter lo lishtamish bo bintayim. Then you'd be allowed to use it in the meantime. Why is that? That doesn't seem to make sense. He's saying the differential is as follows. It all depends. He says, if one of the people at the front desk gave you the item by accident, or you or the guy who's in charge of fixing it just says, take whichever one is yours. I'm too busy now to so if the mistake was not made by the person who's in charge, so then you're not allowed to use it. But if the person who's in charge, the uman ba'atzmo, the repair person, said, take this one, and he's the one who made the error, so then you would be allowed to use it in the interim, until you make the swap and get the one that's yours. Shema kelav shel ha'uma. And what's the argument? Because you could argue that maybe the suitcase or the appliance that the repairman gave you belongs to him, doesn't belong to one of his customers. Maybe it belongs to him. Obala klit siva sa'uman lamachrolo. Or maybe he sells this item on consignment for other people. In other words, you're allowed to assume that the one that he accidentally gave you does not belong to somebody else, but he's authorized to give it out for use. Ulam im barur shahu uman ta'a v'nasan lo kli shel adam acher asar lo lishlamish bo. But that's only if you can make that assumption. But if it's clear, because it's got the tag with someone else's name and phone number on it, with the repair tag, and it's clear that the repairman made a mistake, so then you would not be allowed to use it. So he's presenting the argument in the tshuva. The argument is like this: when you get the wrong item, let's say the long piece of luggage, if there's no indication that it belongs to somebody else, but you know it's not yours, it could be that it belongs to the repairman. And since he gave it to you, it's as if he's giving you a loaner luggage. Even though he gave it to you in error, that's fine, because there's an assumption that he would want you to use it until he rectifies his mistake. And that's, I guess.
Is he allowed to let you use it, like if it's somebody else's?
No, he's not allowed to.
But if it's
in this case of the luggage, the argument is that you can assume that it belongs to the repairman himself, that he has some spare luggage that he's been fixing, that he plans to sell secondhand luggage or secondhand lawnmowers or secondhand appliances, air conditioners, whatever it is. Okay. Just a lot of times when you go to a repair shop, there's going to be plenty of appliances lying around that don't belong to anybody. These are things that were, let's say, traded in or abandoned.
a lot of abandoned. I have a customer here that used to have dozens and dozens of items every month where people would forget and not come pick them up, electronic items. And after X amount of time, it says on the receipt, if you don't pick it up,
30 days
the items
usually.
are over.
Yeah, same thing with clothing, by the way, at the dry cleaner. Okay, we'll hold it here for today. Have a great day.